Hey, this is Sridhar from wpdevdesign.com. In this screencast, I'm going to show how we can recreate the old website of Oxygen, which is at oxygenapp.com in Oxygen 2.0. Tiki Boom has released his edition of the same thing with Beaver Builder. So in this video, I show how we can do the same thing in Oxygen. So let's begin by creating a new page called, let's say, Oxygen app. I'm going to publish this. I'm going to select none for the template to inherit from because I want to start with a blank slate, and then editing with Oxygen. So what we'll do is first we'll create a section which has this red background and this entire thing that has the blue background. We'll set this as a div with these individual sections. So I'm going to go add a section, and for this you can see that that is the background color. So I'm going to grab that from Chrome and put it in here. Set the text color to white, and we will go to size and spacing, and you can see that there is a padding at the top and bottom of 75 pixels. Let's change this to something like 10, and we can come back and fix this later if required. Okay, so whatever I place inside, I would like that to be centered horizontally. So I'm going to select center alignment, and you can see on this website that the center text is a link. So we will go to add and add a link wrapper, and inside that link wrapper we will add a text element. Let's first change the color of this link to white. So I'm gonna click on this to go to the link wrapper, go to advanced, typography, and set the color to white. Okay, so the first text says update May 31st. Let's inspect that, and so we can copy it. Okay, I'm also going to select that and hit bold to make it bold, and the text below this should say, so I'm going to add a new text element. Paste that in, and I will change the font size of this to something smaller, perhaps like that. Okay, so the text that is used on this website is a premium font. So I'm going to use Lato for both the headings and the body text. So we'll go to manage, settings, global styles, fonts, change this to Lato. So display font is nothing but for the headings, and text font is for the regular text. Okay, so we're done with that. All right, let's add a new div and give it the background of this black. So I'm gonna go to structure and make sure that body is selected, add in a new div and give it the background color of black, and set the text color to white. Okay, and you can see that when I put my mouse over, it's changing to blue. So let's select this div, and I'm going to go to hover state, and you can see that the background color is changing on hover for the div. So I'm gonna go to state, change it to hover, and put in the new background color. I'll go back to the original state, and you can see that it changes on hover, and I could add in a transition so it is smooth. So I'll go to advanced effects, transition of say 0.5. So now it is smooth. Okay, so for this navigation, let's add a new section, and we'll have oxygen at the left and this menu on the right. So with this div selected, I'm going to add a new section, and inside this section I'm going to add a logo. So that logo should be a link to the site homepage. So I'll add a link wrapper, and inside that link wrapper I'm going to insert an image, and I have already uploaded that logo in the library, so I'm going to select that. You can see that the height of the logo has been set to 28 pixels in the reference site. I'll do the same thing here, and I could click on this link wrapper and set my link here. For the time being, I'll just set a placeholder link like that. So in this div we have the link wrapper. In the section we have the link wrapper. So now I need to add in a menu. So I'll go to add, helpers, or is it under WordPress? Okay, so I'm going to select my menu, which is oxygen menu. I've already created this. I have added all these links in the same menu, and it is not recommended in my opinion to add this as multiple menus, because you probably will end up getting multiple hamburger icons in the mobile. So it's better to put everything in one and then use Flexbox or some other CSS to position these like this. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is inspect the color of these links. You can see that it is a light, white with a slight opacity or transparency. So I'm going to select the text and set the color here. And I believe when we put the mouse, it's going to change to white. So what we'll do is we'll go to the hover state, or we can actually go back, and in the hover and active, in the hover text color, we'll just set this to white. We need to remove the background and the border at the top on hover. Okay, and one thing that we have missed is that when I put my mouse over, you can see that the logo is becoming white. Let's see how this is done. Yeah, so there's opacity of 0.8 for the hyperlink of the logo, and that's being changed to 1 when we hover. So let me do the same thing. I'm going to select the link wrapper, and in the advanced I'll set the opacity to 0.8, and we will change the state to hover, and we'll change this to 1. So let me go back to the regular state, and it works fine. Okay, so in this section what I have now is the link wrapper and also this menu, and these two are appearing one below the other. We can click on this button to make them appear next to each other, and let's also set the vertical alignment. And for this section I'm going to set the top and bottom padding to 0, because we'll have enough padding coming from the menu items themselves. And I'm going to select this link wrapper and add some space like that, probably some more. Okay, cool. So if I select the menu, it's the section link wrapper menu. Okay. What we need to do is to make sure that this menu takes up the full available width. Right now it is not doing that. You can see when I click on the section, that's like almost going end to end, edge to edge, whereas the menu, so probably we could set it to grow, flex grow 1. That will probably make it grow. So let's try that. I'm going to go to advanced. Yep, that did work. So I've just set flex grow for this element to 1 so that it grows and takes up the available space. So what we need to do now is to write custom CSS for this menu item and set a left margin of auto. So that will push these things to the right. So I'm going to save this and take a look at the front end and inspect. So I've got the list item here. So I'm going to grab the ID and I'm going to go to one of the style sheets in that is being loaded on this page. And since this is a ID, we'll put in a hash. So when I add that CSS, you can see that it goes to the right, which is what we want. So I'm going to copy that. And well, in an ideal scenario, this navigation and this section at the top are typically site-wide. So the CSS that we have just written, it needs to be in a site-wide style sheet. But in this case, I'm just going to restrict it to this page for this demo. So for the body, in the body element, I'm going to add a code block. And put in the CSS like that. Okay, so we've got that, and what we need to now is concentrate on getting the text color and the hover and the text shadow on hover and this increase in the size on hover. So I have already given a class of button BTN, but I don't think we need that in this case. So what we'll do is we'll just yeah, let's make use of that. So this is a Oxy nav menu. That is one of the classes. All right, so we'll make use of that. So I'll go to style.css and say BTN. So now we are essentially targeting that list item for that one. So let's see how they have managed it here. So you can see that they're using an animation and setting the animation name, the duration, and the type of animation, and whether it should be infinite or just one time. So let's see where this is coming from. So I'm gonna open this in a, I'll just click on it and I'll click on this button to unminify that. I'll copy the entire code. I think I don't even need to do that. I can just copy the name of the animation and do a search for that in here. Okay, so right here, the CSS for that animation is here, so we could just copy that and put it in our style CSS over here. So for this button, now I can copy the code which is here for the animation, like that, and we need to give it a border, so just say 1 pixel solid. Okay, and you can see that padding is 5 and 14. So let me set that padding for this. So that padding should actually be for the list item inside this, and same is the case with yeah, it's actually, we should do this for the anchor which is inside that list item. Alright, so I got that. And the border is not actually appearing. The reason being, I think it's being overridden by Oxygen. So if I take a look here, you can see border width is set to 0, and this CSS selector is more specific. So I need to increase the specificity of the selector I have written. And one way I could do is by appending like that. Oh. Probably say list item. There you go. Okay. And the padding is not taking effect because it is being overridden by, so I need to basically, looks like, use the ID. Okay, there you go. Okay, so there is this nav menu, Oxy nav menu, which also has this ID. Inside that is the nav menu list. I don't think this is required anymore. Yeah, so inside that is the list item that has a class of button, and under that is a anchor. And why is this appearing at the top? Let's see. So this list item, you can see, is a flex element, and we need to just make sure that it and it's set to flex direction column, so the main axis is in the vertical direction, which means I need to say for this flex parent that the center. Cool. So that moves it like that, and I think this needs a little bit of border radius of 2 pixels. So I could add that here like that. Okay, so let's take a look at the hover effect. So I'm going to copy that and change the selector. Okay, I'm gonna change this to hover. Now it has this text shadow and transform. So copy that and paste. And it's kind of abrupt because there is no transition for the hyperlinks. So we could probably copy that from here. So I'll put it in here. Cool. Let's copy all the CSS and go back to our code block and add it in. Okay, save it. Alright, so we're done with this navigation section. Let's go to the next one, which is to add a section that has a heading and 2 call to action buttons. I'm gonna go to add, make sure that this div is selected, and add in a new section. And inside this section, I'll add a heading element, which is h2, and this should say okay, and I'm going to select the section and set everything to be centered horizontally, and I could probably reduce the font size a bit. And we'll go to advanced and size and spacing and set a max width of some say 600, something like that. Okay, so below this what we'll do is we'll add in a new button. So I'll go to add button and change this to watch video. Okay, and we'll set outline, so it's like that. Alright, so let's inspect what we have here. You can see it's using the same animation but with a delay of minus 10 seconds. So I could just copy that CSS, and for this element I'll go to advanced custom CSS and put those things in. Okay, so let's set this paddings as what is given on the site, 12 and 36. So I'll go to advanced size and spacing. Okay, font size of 24 pixels. Okay, font weight of 300. Sure. And there's a border of 1 pixel and solid. So I'll go to advanced custom CSS and say border 1 pixel solid. Okay, a width of 250 pixels. Yeah, here. Okay, and a border radius of 2 pixels. So I will go to borders and set the border radius to 2. And I'm going to select this heading and add some margin at the bottom like that. Probably a little more. Okay, so we have got our button here, and you can see that the border color and the text color keeps changing automatically as per the animation CSS. Let's select the button and we're going to duplicate this. So we need to put these two buttons inside a div so that we can place these things horizontally. So with the section selected, I'm going to add a div and move this over here and move the button to inside that div, and do the same thing with the other button. And for this div, I'm going to set this, click on that button to stack these things horizontally, and select the first button and add some space to the right like that. Okay, cool. So for the second button, you can see that there's a animation delay of minus 20 seconds. For the first button it was minus 10 seconds, this is minus 20 seconds. That is because to ensure that these two buttons do not have the same colors at the same time. So I'll go to advanced and custom CSS and set this to minus 20 seconds. Okay. Yeah, we need to change this text to get oxygen. Cool. Alright, so we're done with this portion. What we'll do next is to add this image, a perspective image. So with the section selected, I'm going to go to add and click on this image and change this to that screenshot. And let's inspect the CSS properties for that image and put in the same thing here. So there's a bottom margin of minus 200 pixels and a top margin of minus 5 pixels. Alright, so I'm going to go to advanced size and spacing, minus 200 is it? Oh, the bottom it's minus 200. Okay. and at the top it is -5 pixels. Cool. Okay, so let's select this div and add in some space at the bottom so it's not so close to the image, something like that. Okay, so we'll select this image again and come back, and you can see there is a border of 1 pixel which is the same color all around. So I could go to advanced and go to borders and set the color 1 solid. Okay, and the width is 1200 pixels and a max width of 80%. So I will go to size and spacing, set the width to 1200 pixels with a max width of 80%. And there's this box shadow for this image. So I'll go to effects, box shadow, 00550. Okay, oh, we need to set the color to okay. So we got this nice little glow going on for the image, and there is a transform property. So let's set that for in custom CSS. So this is the CSS property that will transform this image in conjunction with a perspective property that needs to be assigned to its parent. Let's see where this perspective is given in the reference site. So you can see that there's a perspective of 1500 pixels and perspective origin set for the parent of this image. So in that case, that is this div in our case. So I'll do the same thing in custom CSS, paste those in. Yeah. Okay, and you can see that it's actually overflowing. So I could set the overflow to hidden by going to layout, overflow hidden. Okay, so what's happening here is that because we have set the perspective, even these are getting the transform. Why is that? I thought I set the transform only to this. No, I did not. So it looks like I've set it for the entire div. Okay, so where did I set it? Did I set it to this section? Yeah, I should have done that for just this image. So go to custom CSS and put in that for transform. Okay, collapse it, save it, come back here and refresh. Okay, so two things that we are missing is that we need to add the increasing size of these buttons on hover and also the text shadow. So when I go to hover state for these buttons, you can see that there is this text shadow and transform. Okay, so I'm going to copy those and select my button, state to hover, go to advanced, and in the custom CSS I'll put in these and repeat the same for this button. Ideally, I should have given a class to this button so that when I make these changes to the class, the other also will get affected. But in this case, it's just two, so I'll just do it anyway. So in the hover state, cool. Let's take a look at how this appears on responsive views. So right at 1120 pixels and below, it's getting collapsed into the hamburger. I don't need that. So I'm going to select the menu item, and for the mobile responsive, say I would like it to be triggered from 992 and below. Okay. So at 1120, it's fine. Let's go to 992. You can see that this menu is appearing on the left. I would like this menu icon to appear on the right. So let's save that. Go to the front end, reload. And we'll see at 992, this menu icon is appearing on the left, and what can be done to move it to the right. Okay, for this menu element, we have given flex grow to 1, and that is what is making it, I think, to not move to the right. Now I have this disabled in my browser, and for this div I could set the justify content property to space between, and that will move these child elements wide apart like that. So we need to, for that selector, add justify content space between from 992 and below. So I will go to code block in the advanced, in the CSS. So 992 and below, I want justify content to be space between. Okay, and we also need to remove that flex grow 1. Yeah, I could remove that by, what I could do is, let me collapse this. So I'll select the menu, and we will go to advanced layout, and yeah, we'll remove the flex grow or set it to 0 like that. Save it, come back and refresh. Okay, cool. So when I click on this hamburger menu icon, you can see that nothing is appearing because the background color is white, the text links are white. So let's select the menu, and we'll go to mobile responsive, menu styles, and set the background color to black. So let's see how this looks now. For some reason this is still not appearing to the right in here, but I think it will be okay in the front end. Okay, cool. So let's move on. Let's go to 768 and below, and at this size I would like these buttons to appear one below the other. So I'll select the div and set that, and set the center alignment for the horizontal direction, and I'm going to select this button and get rid of its margin to the right. Okay, and add some margin at the bottom of say 20 pixels. Okay, save it. Let me move this to the left side. Reload. Okay, when I click on that, I get that. That's good. Okay, so that's it. I hope you find this helpful. Bye for now.